Hello everyone and welcome to my table. My name is Daniel Stomball. I'm just a guy who's identified how loved and adored I am by God. It's my passion and my purpose to help everyone I meet understand their place of value in the kingdom and to the heart of God. One of the ways that I've been allowed to do this is to write a book called Solomon's Song. It's a 90-day devotional, and it takes the entire Song of Solomon, all 8 chapters, 118 verses, and it breaks them down into a personal love letter from God. The value of that is that it helps me understand how God feels about me. It shows me the pictures between a shepherd girl and a king, and it shows me between God and the bride exactly how his heart is towards me. It is unlike anything that I've ever seen in my entire life, and so I'm enjoying having the opportunity to go through it and show this to you. So right now we're going through the book Solomon's Song, and it's we're going through this day by day, and we are actually on day number 29 on this video, and the title of our devotion is called Whithersoever Thou Goest. And if you're just going to back up just a little bit to explain to you about what has happened in the past couple of videos, but specifically the last video, we talked about how in order to experience the kingdom of God, you've got to be willing to leave a place of comfort. You know, God doesn't always operate in our comfort zone. Oftentimes, in order to see God move, in order to experience God's working, we have to be willing to leave the place of comfort, and most of us have this choice. Do I live with the memory of what God used to do in my life or did years ago, or do I step out away from the memory and go find the man? You know, what is it? What do I want? The memory of the man? And that was the debate that the bride had in the last video. So we're seeing her choice here today and what she chooses to do. So in Song of Solomon chapter 3 and verse number 2 is where we'll pick up. She says this: I will rise now and go about the city in the streets and in the broad ways. I will seek him whom my soul loveth. I sought him, but I found him not. A couple of things I want to point out. This is completely shifting a little bit away from what we're talking about, but I love how she refers to him. She refers to him not as the king, not as King Solomon. She refers to him as him whom my soul loves. Our soul consists of our mind, our will, and our emotions. And I love that because later on in the New Testament you'll see Jesus talking about loving God with all our heart and our soul and our mind. It talks about loving him that way, and she has referred to him in this context. She says, listen, I'm seeking him whom my soul loveth. Everything about my mind loves this person. Everything about my will loves this person. And so everything about her emotion state loved this person, and he has become that for her, and we're 3 chapters in. So where are we going to be by the time we're chapter 8? So the goal of the Christian life as you're walking with God, the goal of relationship, is to get to know God enough that your soul loves him. You know, your soul loves everything about God. And it's very different when you're taught to see God a certain way, when you're taught to see God as this distant deity or a divine employer or this absent parent. When you're taught to see God as, you know, look busy, Jesus is coming back type of mentality, it's difficult to think of loving that person. It's like trying to love the Godfather. It's like, I respect you, but, you know, the same token, I'm on eggshells around you because you may drop the hammer any minute if I displease you. But understand, he's not the Godfather, he is God the Father. And sometimes because we see God the way we see our natural earth father, it's hard to accept that even. Because like, okay, God's my father, but my father was abusive, or my father was verbally abusive, my father was distant, my father was absent, and so it's difficult sometimes for us to even lower that down. And so this is a journey. If you're not at the place as you study this book, you may have been a Christian for many years, but you're not at the place where you can look at God and say, I love him with my heart and my soul and my mind, my will and my emotions. Like, I'm still guarded, right? I love him, I respect him, but I love him in the general sense. But as far as that, man, look into me. Like David said, search me and know my heart. I mean, look at every flaw. If you're not at that point, then it's okay. You know, it's a journey. And so she's journeying, and she has reached in this place in this journey where she refers to him as him whom my soul loveth. Okay, all right, now I need to jump back here. So she's talking in this passage here, though, about the exploits of her search for the king. She's saying all the places that she went, and her search for the king took her to multiple points of frustration. She said, I went in the city streets, and I went in the broadways, and I looked at him here in the alleyways, and I looked all over the king because he was about kingly business, so I went after him. And her search ends with this statement. She says, I sought him, but I found him not. Let me just say that God is not always found in the places and in the people or events that we feel he should be in. God is not always found in the places, in the people, or the events that we feel he should be found in. A lot of people do a lot of things with God's name that he really has no part of. A lot of places carry God's name on the sign. He really has no part of that. A lot of events advertise God's name that he has no part of. The search that she was in provides her incredible value because it helps her understand all the places that he is not. And discovering all the places he is not can drastically help someone else who's searching to discover the places where he is. I think that that's awesome because a lot of times we discount years of our life or seasons of our life that we spent looking for God. Or we maybe didn't even recognize it as God when we were looking. We were just looking for satisfaction. We were, as the song would say, looking for love in all the wrong places. We're looking for love in too many faces. You spend all this time, we look at it as wasted years, and we say, man, I spent all of this time with this place, or I spent all this time with this person, and I was really trying to find satisfaction, and it's such a waste, and I wish I could give this, and wish I could go back and reuse this. I heard one preacher, he was preaching away about people that had all they had to look at in their life was wasted years. You got wasted years on your life, and you look back and say, oh my God, it's wasted. And the truth is, there's no such thing as wasted years. None. Those wasted years that we would look at and say, I lived for myself all these years. I lived for my identity was based out of what I had or who I had and my source of value. I placed it in somebody, in something, in an organization, and all these things. They were the ones that I got my spiritual feeding from these things instead of from him, from God. And I want to go back and I want to just know it's not a waste at all. There's value in that waste. I think of the woman at the well, where she was at the well, and Jesus comes by and he comes to look at her and he says, hey, let me just sit down here and get a drink from water. And she came to the well at a time of day when nobody was around, and there was a reason why no one was around that time of day, because it was very, very hot, and you didn't want to go out. It was like if you lived in a college town trying to go grocery shopping during a football game because nobody's out, and it's like, this is the perfect time to go, right? So for this lady, it was the perfect time to go to the well because no one was around that would see her. Now, why would you not want to be seen by people? You wouldn't want to be seen by people if you had a reputation. And she had a reputation. It was less hassle, less drama for her just to slip out when nobody was out, and I'll inconvenience myself to go here when no one's around so that I can get what I need to get done and go home without incident, without drama. And she meets Jesus, and he speaks to her, and when he tells her about living water, the Bible says that she goes back into her village, and she goes specifically to the men of that village, and she says, come meet this man. And she didn't say, come meet him because of what he promised me, come meet him because of what he would give me if I brought enough visitors to see him, and come get me. No, she said, come meet this man who told me everything that I ever did. And I'm telling you, when I read that passage, my spirit leaped, and I got my pen and I underlined that statement, everything I ever did, because there's value in everything that you've ever done. Now, you may not feel the value with it, and those nights that you wish you could take back, they may be like a trophy that sits up on Satan's mantelpiece. But let me tell you something, that is not a trophy that needs to stay there. You were designed to be a trophy of grace, and it's understanding that was what was needed for that lady at the well in order to bring her to the well at that time where she would meet the one that changed her life. Had anything that she ever did, I'm going to speak like Andy Griffith, everything she ever did, had anything she ever did been any different, she would have passed by a well and passed by a Savior and passed by the opportunity to experience living water. Some people find God in jail, and some people find God from a drug overdose, and some people find God because the loss of a loved one or a difficulty or pain of some kind. And some people find God from a church pew. But whatever it took for you to even be here, watching a study about God, trying to learn more about a walk for God. Man, you were 29 days into a study about learning how to understand the heart of God. That happened. All the events in your life that have taken place to bring you to the point where you are watching this video. Had they all been different, I don't know that you'd be watching this video. I don't know that you'd be as hungry for God as you are. I don't know that you would really want to understand the heart of God in your life the way that you do right now. Had anything been any different, you would be different. So understanding the value of my search, understand that looking down that alleyway for the king, or looking down that side street for the king, or wasting time going to that group of people, or wasting time with that person, trying to find, and understand that those searches for fulfillment, and those searches for satisfaction, they're only a waste if you let them be. But they become valuable to the search and valuable to you when you realize, okay, I learned he's not down there, he's not here, and he's not over there, and that's not where you're going to find fulfillment. Man, that's with the value and the beauty of that comes when that takes the trophy off of Satan's mantle place and says, you know what, this is actually was never yours. I'm going to go ahead and put this back on God's mantle because actually that belongs to him. And it's taking that back from him. And I want to challenge you to take back those trophies you may have given him. Maybe you gave God, or say gave Satan your 18th birthday, or your 20s, or that your 30s became a trophy for Satan. Take it back today, because those things were necessary for you and on your journey to find God in the way that you found him today. That was what it took for you. Man, somebody else found him through a revival meeting. I'm glad. They didn't have to spend any time looking for God on a college campus the way that you did, or they didn't have to spend looking for God in jail the way you did, or relapsing the way you did. Okay, fine. I'm glad that was their journey, but your journey is your journey, and you're a story. You either own it or it owns you, and the events of your life, they become those building blocks. They become valuable to you. Every hurt, every abuse, every pain that I went through, I would never change that at all, because it was necessary for me. The whole reason why Solomon's Song is a book is because I came to God broken and hungry and scared and alone, and came to God at the point of just frustration, saying, I need to have you. If you are out there, I need to know how you feel about me. I need to know my love, where it comes from, because I'm tired of having it ripped out from underneath me because I've placed it in people and places and things, and I'm looking for my identity and value, and that came from a hunger. It came from pain. When you read Solomon's Song, you're reading pain. That you're reading a salve, a wounding that took place. Man, it's awesome to see what God will do when we take those woundings and say, no, they have incredible value. The search has value. So here's my question for you. What dead-end streets have you discovered in your search for the King? What dead ends have you discovered in your search for the King? Think about that. What nights do you wish you could take back? What events do you say, man, what was I thinking? Those are dead-end streets. How can you use those frustrations to help someone else who is searching? Maybe you need to write a book. Maybe you need to write a devotional. Maybe you need to write a song. Maybe you need to speak. Maybe you need to volunteer. Maybe you need to give your testimony. Maybe you need to have a small group with some people in your church. Maybe you need to get a Bible study together. Maybe you need to do something inside with that message with those years. Maybe you need to, as part of your take back of those years, maybe you need to do something out. Maybe you need to volunteer your help at a boys' home or a girls' home or a foster club or something like that. Maybe you need to be involved in the YMCA, the Big Brother. Maybe you need to do something as a way of giving back. Maybe you need to work at a shelter or volunteer time at a rehab center. Maybe you can do something. What is it you can do? What stirs your heart when you think about, man, if I could help one group of people, if I can help somebody, who would it be? Maybe it's a name. Maybe it's a name of an individual. It pops on your head. It's too early in the morning. There it goes. Too early in the morning for me to snap my fingers. Maybe it's something organization, volunteer. You always think, when you think of the word volunteer or help, that comes to mind. Maybe you should do that. Just do it. Use your wasted years. Use those searching streets, those dead-end alleys. Use what you gain from that to help somebody. You never know the difference it'll make in somebody else. That is day 29. I can't wait to be with you. In the next video, we're going to talk about her looking again, her search, and some more things. And in the next video, we're going to talk about it's all in where you look. And we're going to look at specific avenue that she goes to look at, that ends up hurting her later on. But it is an avenue that every single one of us will do without fail. I got to mention my cup real quick. I love to drink coffee, obviously, and I love. I have a podcast called Lakeside with Daniel, and things are very lake themed for me. I believe that God has a ministry for me that's operates by a lake in the future. And so my son, who's 5.5, he made me a cup for Christmas. I got to show you this cup because it's special to me. It's got a little lake house. There's a dock and there's some water, and it says in his writing, Lakeside, that's the name of the podcast, and the name of the property. There it is, the E is down here in the handle. It's awesome. And it's got this guy right here, and he's saying, God, so there's the lake house, and then there's me down here talking about God. I love that. That's just awesome. Awesome little gift. I just had to share with you. Thanks for indulging me. But thank you for being with me today. Hope you have a fantastic day today. And find a way, ask God to help you find a way to use your story to change the life of somebody else. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye now.